Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about The Alienist, Angels of Darkness, Season 2, Episode 4, Gilded Cage. This is the big episode where the killer is revealed very early in the season. And there's only 8 episodes, and this is the 4th. In last season, it took towards the very end of the series just for like the killer to be revealed and stuff. It's weird. In the first season, there's like I think like I said like 10 episodes, and it feels like it's longer than that. This season just feels like it went by really fast. And it's just not the same as the last one. So in the third episode, which I did not review, it is revealed that our killer is a female. How and why? Because see, the killer, in order to administer poison to the baby, for some bizarre reason, she drinks it and she breastfeeds the baby because the Isaacson twins, they determined inside of the baby's stomach was poison, carbon charcoal for the antidote, and breast milk. So they're like, why is breast milk in the baby if this baby's been missing for like so long and everything. So yeah, it is determined that the female is killer. And not just any female, they realize that the baby killer must come from the lying-in hospital because like the Martha Nips lady, her baby was kidnapped from there, and the woman that is like the ambassador's wife gave birth at that same hospital. So they feel like somebody who works there is the culprit. So Sarah decides she is gonna send Bitsy as undercover to like work there and figure out who. Boy, she did not learn her lesson when she dressed Stevie up as a girl, being a prostitute in the last season. Oh, Sarah. And so the lying hospital, we learn out more from the third episode. Apparently, not only is this a hospital for poor women to go to off the streets, but also really, really, really rich women have are placed in the upper wing. And so some women, the men that they make babies with, want to keep that hush hush. And one of those people is, I think his name is Richard Osgood, and he's the type of person who just messes around with women, but then he doesn't want nobody to know. So when they get pregnant, he sends them there so they can be drugged and sterilized. Yes, they have their tubes tied unwillingly, and they place the women asleep. So when they wake up, they are told that their babies died in stillbirth. This is that shadiness I was telling you about when it comes to Dr. Mark, or Marco, or whatever his name is. And so in this, in this episode, as Bitsy's doing her best, so also in the third episode, Sarah befriends a young lady who works at the hospital with red hair. Her name is Libby Hatch. And so her and Libby bond instantly and everything. Libby is not used to high society lifestyle, going to fancy lunch and dinners, but Sarah decides she's going to treat her, and take her there. But she has no idea what none of the food is called, what it is, and all this other stuff. Reason why she's doing it because she wants information. And so she also wants Libby to steal some documents of the doctor to see what happened to some of these women, what happens to their babies, who are some of these women, who are some of the men that get them pregnant and make the whole hush hush thing go around, right? So she sneaks into the matron's office and she does that. And so she steals the papers, but then she has to put them back and she gets caught. The matron is a very odd woman in one scene because there's a woman who is kind of like the mistress of Osgood and stuff. And so as she's like slipping in and out of consciousness, she sees the matron trying on one of her fancy rich dresses, dancing around in it because the matron just can't afford nothing like that. And so as Bitsy is there, She talks to like, Libby, this and that. But Libby doesn't know she works for Sarah. So she befriends a woman named Colin. And Colin works there. Colin was also discharged from the hospital because she got pregnant by the baby by the Richard Osgood man. After the baby so-called died in stillborn, she started working there. She's very disturbed, very rude person who doesn't like his name being brought up. And Bitsy does that. Bitsy starts to ask way too many questions when it comes to Colleen, and she does not like that. And so, like at the hospital, it is very disgusting and nasty. You see women peeing in buckets. Uh, the matron and the doctor are so rude to him. Well, anyways, with everybody else, Lucas tells Marcus about what happened between him and Barnes, about how he threatened Marcus and all this and other stuff. Marcus doesn't seem phased or really care. Uh, it's weird. A lot of these characters aren't doing much this season. It's very much a Sarah focused season, which is fine. I like Sarah, and it gives Dakota a lot more acting chops because in the last season she came off as very stiff. But the show this season just seems to revolve all around her. Like the Isaacson brothers, their role has been significantly reduced. Laszlo is barely in this show. John is barely in this show and does anything. It's mostly just Sarah doing the detective work and stuff. Even Cyrus barely does anything. Like I told you, he owns that bar. In the book, he doesn't. In the book, him and Stevie still work for Laszlo, but it's like they're not doing nothing. Stevie hasn't shown up since the first episode, and so like Cyrus' niece, she's actually taking the role kind of what Cyrus was in the last season. She's helping out Sarah determine like who's the killer and all this stuff and get some clues. John finds out from Sire she actually doesn't want to work in his bar. She actually wants to work in a newspaper place because she took up journalism. So he helps her get a job at the New York Times. His boss does not like that because she is black. But he tells her, she's impressive and she wrote this. Then he starts to be impressed. It's weird because in the last season, the white people didn't treat black people like wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of one of those things where I was just kind of like, okay, maybe they're not that historically accurate. But now this season they are. Every time Cyrus' niece goes somewhere and people are always staring her down. Especially John's future godfather-in-law and his fiance. So John is still, about to get married to his woman. He has a party and stuff, so he invites all his friends. Sarah's not happy about this. Sarah still wants him back. And so John's fiance can see how John and Sarah talk. She does not like that. She knows Sarah wants him back and stuff. And with that, it's interesting because we now find out why they broke up. When he proposed to her, she simply just said no. Because she felt her work was more important. She didn't want to be married, she didn't want a kid, and all this other stuff. So he went his own way, and she opened up her detective agency, and he found a new woman and stuff. And so I'm just like, oh wow, man, she just said straight up no and everything. And so in this season, Laszlo actually ends up making a little friend. He finds another alienist, a statin woman. And so he's very intrigued by her. And it's funny because when she talks to him, she reads him and everything. And she's very stiff when she talks to him. It's like a weird match made in heaven type thing. However, it's only been a year past since Mary died, so he moves quickly. But it's been a whole year, so but still. And so one thing that happens at the party is that John's godfather-in-law bribes him. He bought him a German automobile. Yes, they are slowly making their way into American culture and stuff. And so people are gonna stop riding horses and all this other stuff. Ugh, 'cause it's nasty. They show like the poop on the street and everything like that. And so like John, godfather-in-law, or soon to be, and fiance, they straight up make fun of him in front of like everybody. But he seems okay with that. But Sarah is not. Sarah's all like, how? How can you, like, be made fun of by like these people and stuff? It's like they're doing it to your face for amusement. And he tell like, who John? He really lays it into Sarah, and tell her how like, you didn't want me and all this other stuff. You're gonna die alone and all this other. He really hurts her feelings because he's hurt that she turned down his proposal. And so, I mean, when he lays it into her. She gets so upset. She lights the cigarette. She walks up the stairs and she puts it into Richard's drink. So one thing that happens with the lady's missing baby, Isabella, Laszlo put her under hypnosis, and he wants to know everything she did when she went in the park, and she explains it. They have a painter from a school who paints everything. She mentions it, right? It's a beautiful painting and stuff. My bad, I'm like so tired. That's ironic they didn't get John to draw it, but this is so weird. He doesn't draw no more. Now he works for a news journal and everything. He's like a reporter, which is how he is in the book. So they don't even mention how he went from one transition to another. And so when the whole painting is done and she's displaying it, she also explains how she kept seeing the flashes of light and people taking pictures. And where she sat in the painting, they could see that in front of her was, or on behind her or whatever, was the person taking pictures. So they realized that, wait a minute, if they can get all the pictures that were taken in negatives and all the other stuff, they can probably determine maybe the killer has been like hiding in plain sight. Because the person had to follow her around, and the person has to work at that hospital. So they go to the person taking pictures and they get like all the pictures, right? And so they're like sifting through all the pictures, trying to see who they can find that's following her and spying on her. So Bitsy, remember how I told you she keeps pissing Colleen off? Colleen has had enough, and she's all like, you know what? You asked too many questions. And she chases Bitsy. She's gonna rip her head off. She's acting so like crazy and everything. So then you think, okay, maybe she's the killer, right? So Bitsy goes into her room and she locks the door from the inside. And Colleen is just like banging on the door, trying to get in there, trying to bust it open. But then we see somebody in the shadows, and they're taking the same poison that they killed the babies with. It's Libby, the redhead that befriended Sarah. And she's all like, I guess she was kind of like the wrong place at the wrong time or something like that and stuff like that. And so she starts, and so, oh man, it was insane. She stabs Bitsy in the neck with the vial and everything, this syringe and needle. Colleen's just looking like, oh my God, and everything. And so Bitsy's trying to fight her off, and as she's like, slipping unconscious, and she's trying to crawl her way to the door. But Colleen couldn't even get inside because of like, the door being locked. So back at like Sarah's place, they're looking through the pictures and they see the person spying on the ambassador's wife. It was Libby in the picture, so they rush to the hospital to save Bitsy and everything. They bust through, but somehow Libby is able to like run free and everything, because they're too busy attending to Bitsy, who's now passed out, dying on the floor. And so Colleen's all like, "Oh, I tried to save her." No, she did. So the Isaacson brothers, they're trying their best to revive her, and they know the poison that was used, the same kind. Because the thing about Libby is that she had black goo dripping down from her mouth when she stabbed Bitsy. It was the carbon charcoal stuff. So they find that and they inject that into Bitsy's neck. And it takes a long time for her to come back too, but she slowly opens her eyes and stuff because carbon kind of like eliminates like poisons and stuff like that and radiation. So Libby, she's fleeing, she's running for her life, and one place she ends up is the matron's apartment. And matron's all like, "What are you doing here this time of night?" She doesn't really answer. She just acts weird, and matron just kind of like looks at her and stuff, right? And then she just starts like she makes herself a drink, and the matron's all like, "You better leave right now. Or I'm calling the police." And so she turns around with a scalpel in her hand, and she just starts stabbing Matron in the neck over and over. Blood is like everywhere. Matron falls to the ground. Blood is pouring from her neck, and then she just lays beside Matron and cradles with her. It's a very disturbing scene. This woman, I didn't even guess Libby was the killer because she was so sweet, so innocent, so nonchalant and everything. But then once she started her killing spree, she turned wacko crazy and stuff. I just couldn't believe it and everything. And so, like, so now I'm trying to think. When I remember when I first saw this, like a long time ago, I'm just like, okay, even though they revealed the killer very early, it could still be good. Because every time you will see Libby interact with people, what is she going to do? Who is she going to kill? You know what I'm saying? She is becoming unhinged now. And next episode is just as good. Because you got to remember, she still has the baby and stuff.